The girl has a perfect figure and beauty, but in her opinion, this is an unfortunate curse. As an elf, she lost her freedom and dignity, wearing shackles that symbolize slavery, becoming a commodity at an auction to be sold to the highest bidder. But the girl would never have thought that she would meet her destined person in this place. The man is called Zagan, a notorious sorcerer feared and hated by people. Most sorcerers are known to conduct cruel experiments on humans, and they will do whatever it takes to achieve their goals. For example, this red-faced sorcerer is planning to use the white-haired elf girl in front of him for magical research. But Zagan is different. He not only kills the evil sorcerer, but also brings the girl to his castle. It's because what Zagan can't stand the most is magic and sorcerers that require human sacrifice, and the red-faced sorcerer was still making trouble in his territory. After dealing with it, Zagan's friend Barbados suddenly came to his door and brought news of archdemon Marcosius's death. The title of archdemon is the pinnacle that all sorcerers dream of reaching. Those who have the title of archdemon can not only obtain powerful magic, but can even use lower-level sorcerers as servants. Although sorcerers can manipulate their bodies to delay aging, their ultimate limit is only 1,000 years. This archdemon died because he reached his limit, and an archdemon's seat became vacant. What interested Zagan was not the seat itself, but the legacy left by the archdemon, which would be auctioned. At first, Zagan didn't care much about what was being displayed on the auction screen, thinking it was just an ordinary slave. But when the host unveiled the next item, the beautiful white-haired elf shocked everyone, especially Zagan. Then let's start with 10,000 gold coins. 100,000. The purple-haired attendees who heard this were dumbfounded. 100,000 gold coins could buy a castle. They asked Zagan if he was planning some strange magic experiment, but Zagan merely smiled mysteriously. They would never have guessed that Zagan had actually fallen in love at first sight when he saw the elf. So he spent all his savings without hesitation and didn't regret it at all. However, after returning home, Zagan didn't know what to say. Being single since birth, he was facing a girl he liked for the first time. Just as Zagan was racking his brains thinking of what to say, the elf named Nephie spoke first, asking how her new master planned on killing her. Hearing Nephie's words, Zagan hurriedly explained that he had no intention of killing her. But in Nephie's opinion, this new master simply didn't want her to die too easily. The strange torture devices in the corner further confirmed her fears. Little did she know that these were actually left by the castle's previous owner. Zagan was just too lazy to throw them away. Seeing that he couldn't explain clearly, Zagan could only clumsily change the subject. Zagan introduced himself and clarified that despite being a sorcerer, he didn't take pleasure in torturing others. The elf girl responded with a simple acknowledgement. Though Zagan possesses great magical power, he finds himself struggling to ask for her name. Before he can overcome his nervousness, she takes the initiative and introduces herself as Nephie. This catches Zagan off guard. Attempting to learn more, he inquires whether Nephie is her given name or family name. She explains that she has no family name, but offers that he can call her Nephie for short. In this moment, Zagan realizes they share something in common. Neither of them has a family name. Zagan prepared to take Nephie to choose a room she likes, but in Nephie's view, it means that she choose the place where she will die. But she heard Zagan explain again that he would not kill her. Nephie didn't understand. After all, no matter what purpose she was used for, the final fate was death. Zagan understood the girl. She was sold as a slave and was indoctrinated with the idea that she would either become a sacrifice or be used as a gunny pig for an experiment. In short, there was no good ending. Although he didn't know what the cursed child she mentioned meant, she was definitely not accepted by people. Zagan was also like this. Not only did he not have his own surname, he didn't even know who his parents were. He has lived in a garbage dump since he became conscious, and even the name Zagan is just a name given by others. Zagan tells Nephie that he bought her because he needs her, and asks her to stop talking about dying. When Nephie questions his statement about needing her, Zagan confirms it and tells her she'll not lie for his sake. After that, Zagan planned to give Nephie a room with a good view, and the two walked up the stairs. At this moment, Nephie suddenly missed a step, but fortunately Zagan caught her in time. While reminding her to watch the road, he unconsciously held Nephie's hand. Zagan, who was a little slow, also realized this. The two came to the room on the top floor. Zagan introduced that because no one usually uses the room, it may be a little dirty. But when he opened the door, they saw torture devices and skeletons inside. Seeing this, Zagan could only forcefully explain that it was to prevent traps set by enemies, but even he didn't believe this reason. So to ease the embarrassment, he immediately cast high-level magic into the room. Not only did the torture devices disappear, but even the door fell down. Nephie comments on Zagan's powerful sorcery. Zagan becomes self-conscious, thinking he's made another mistake by showing her a room he considers too dreary. When Nephie questions his use of the word dreary, she then walks to the terrace and reaches toward the moon. Zagan asks if she likes the moon, but Nephie admits she doesn't know. She then timidly asks if she can really have this room. Zagan tells her to use the room as she wishes, and Nephie thanks him, addressing him as master. This silver-haired beauty never expected that the demon master who adopted her was actually a single individual, let alone sleeping on the floor. Breakfast consisted of compressed biscuits and water, which made the silver-haired girl instantly unable to bear it. This was not a proper meal, so she immediately expressed that she could actually cook. The male protagonist was shocked when he heard it and stood up in surprise because he could actually eat food made by the girl he liked. This kind of life was something he dared not even think about as a straightforward boy, so he immediately decided to go to the city to collect supplies. However, he quickly found a fatal problem when he went out. He couldn't even afford the 3 copper coins for the carriage. After all, the 100,000 gold that he used to buy the girl was all spent, so he could only awkwardly say that it wasn't bad to walk there. The male protagonist also thought that he had to make money quickly, otherwise he couldn't afford to support the girl he liked and she might run away with someone else. But if he directly robbed the carriage just now, his favorability would definitely decrease. Just as he was entangled in thought, his idea was actually taken by someone else. But when he saw the girl's expression, he immediately thought that he might have been captured in this way. The robbers also discovered the existence of the male protagonist. They said not to worry, he should not be able to use magic continuously. A big man came with an axe and swung it at the male protagonist. But he didn't expect that the male protagonist, a magician, would have such great strength. The next second he crushed the axe with his bare hands, and then the man's head exploded, sending him flying several meters away. At this time, another magician who was an accomplice also appeared and shamelessly said that he would pay the price for his appearance. The dominance of the magic was seized here. Then the robbers also fled, but when he looked back and saw the girl's expression, the male protagonist thought, "Did I mess up again?" At this time, the cat gave the male protagonist a big bag of money, saying that if possible, he could be their bodyguard and give him a ride. The male protagonist thought that it was so easy to make money. He only needed to defeat the bad guys and they would appear by themselves. After arriving in the city, he suddenly saw a clothing store and planned to change clothes for the girl. But when he entered the store, he suddenly became scared when he saw the magician behind the counter. The male protagonist didn't care and said to pick out clothes for her. The clerk also saw such a cute girl for the first time, but when he saw the slave collar on her neck, he thought for a while and immediately understood, pushing the girl into the fitting room. "And what is this strange casual outfit?" The clerk wondered if it wasn't to his preference. The male protagonist was embarrassed, but his eyes still looked at the silver-haired girl unconsciously. Nephie tells Zagan to choose whatever he wants. Embarrassed, Zagan immediately asked the clerk to get her regular clothes instead. After going out, he walked into a weapons store and asked the clerk if they knew how to open this collar. The girl didn't understand why the master wanted to help her get rid of the symbol of slavery. The clerk looked at it for a while and said that this was a magical item and he couldn't do anything. This collar likely had a mechanism. If the girl was forced to open it, her life would be in danger. There was no choice but to buy food first. As they walked around, time soon came to the evening. Soon they arrived at a restaurant for lunch. The girl also said that it was a bit uncomfortable to eat at the table for the first time. Then she used the fork very unskillfully. The atmosphere was awkward. Fortunately, she noticed the life-saving spoon. My boy Zagan also decided to miss on purpose, so Nephie felt normal. At this time, he didn't notice that everyone's eyes were on the young couple, and then they could only leave shyly. At the same time, the girl with red hair was still recalling that she was saved by the notorious magician Zagan. At this time, the archbishop also came over, and the girl immediately stood up to greet him. Then the archbishop said that this incident was not over and there was actually another person behind the kidnapping of the girl. When the male protagonist woke up, he saw Nephie waiting for him with a gentle face, still standing and waiting for her master to wake up. The male protagonist's ears turned red the moment he heard it. Later, when he heard that Nephie had baked the bread herself, his hands immediately trembled. After all, as a single man, he had never enjoyed such a domestic moment. Moreover, seeing Nephie's cute pointy ears, anyone would definitely fall for her. Then he also said to come and eat together. Nephie reveals that she had only prepared food for her master. The male protagonist also said that they should eat together and sit down quickly. He didn't expect that Nephie had even prepared a chair for only one person. The next day, the male protagonist studied magic as usual in the study room, but Nephie asked in confusion what book the master read every day. What else could he, a straightforward man and a homebody, do besides magic? Nephie also roughly guessed it, but the patterns on the ground were real. Was the elf's magic different from his? Nephie Nephie said that she doesn't know magic. The male protagonist thought about it and realized that it was a pity her magic power was so strong but untapped. Then he also explained it attentively and drew a basic magic circle on the ground. This could summon lightning as long as magic power was injected, but in fact this power is very small. Then just add a spell in the magic circle to increase the damage. At this moment, the male protagonist suddenly sensed that someone had invaded. Who dared to disturb his sweet moment with Nephie? A red lightning bolt fell, and the male protagonist made a brilliant appearance. Zagan observes that a weapon, and presumably the sacred sword, has the power to break through his barrier. That is the symbol of the highest power of the church. But the person in front of him looked more and more familiar. After thinking for a long time, it turned out to be the girl who had been rescued before. The male protagonist said that it would be a quick battle. Zagan mentions that he still had plans with the lovely Nephie. He casually released a lightning bolt. Fortunately, the other knight acted in time. The male protagonist thought that it seemed that it was no big deal to pass through the anointed armor. Even if he showed mercy, they would still be injured. Zagan asked the girl if she will leave once it takes care of her. Zagan stepped on a soldier's head and told the girl not to act rashly unless she wants his head to turn into ketchup. The red-haired girl was very puzzled as to why he was playing with them like this. He explained it was to spread fear. Even if he killed them, the church would only get death statistics, but if he tortured them slowly, they would describe their horrible experience when they went back. Seeing that his intentions were exposed, the hero hurriedly took a defensive posture, but he didn't expect that the defensive magic circle could not withstand even one attack from the sacred sword. But fortunately, the opponent's strength was not very strong, so the red-haired girl didn't land a hit at all. Then she angrily asked why he didn't fight back. Was it because he looked down on her? The male protagonist said that he never hit women with his hands, but the truth was that she was a girl about the same age as Nephie. How could he bear to hurt her? The red-haired girl asked why he is kind-hearted, but involved in sorcery. At the same time, Nephie saw that the male protagonist was fighting fiercely and couldn't run away. At this time, one of the knights shot at her with a gun, but fortunately the male protagonist protected her in time. But Nephie locked in. She whooped the soldier's ass and told him he wasn't going home tonight. The male protagonist hurriedly stopped Nephie when he saw her about to use her power, and Nephie was also frightened by her sudden outburst. The knight only had one hand left outside, and it was estimated that it would soon be consumed by the forest. The people present were undoubtedly shocked. Was this the power of Nephie's mysticism? Nephie found that her master slept alone every night, so she shyly made a bold request. Zagan awkwardly tries to explain the dynamic between himself and Nephie by pointing out their genders, but struggles to complete the thought. It turned out that the male protagonist misunderstood. Nephie just wanted to use her lap as a pillow for her master. The male protagonist was instantly excited after hearing this. Although it was not as good as sleeping in the same bed, this was not bad. After lying down, he felt particularly comfortable, but the next second, he touched Nephie's face. Zagan offered to teach Nephie magic so she could protect herself, noting that while she couldn't control her mysticism well yet, she had the potential to surpass him one day. The next morning, Barbados burst into the castle, exclaiming that he'd heard Zagan was besieged by paladins but appeared unharmed even against one wielding a sacred sword. Barbados was shocked to see Nephie, the elf from the auction, still serving Zagan rather than being used as a sacrifice. Zagan explained that Nephie was his disciple, not a sacrifice. Though Barbados was skeptical, Zagan maintained that Nephie would be useful for magic he couldn't perform alone. Zagan thought to himself that while he was satisfied with his current situation, becoming an archdemon would prevent others from attacking him. However, he knew he was still young and had little chance against those who had lived for hundreds of thousands of years. Even so, as long as he lived, he had the opportunity to compete for the position in the future. Each day, Zagan accompanied Nephie in studying magic books. She also proved adept at cleaning the castle and organizing the wardrobe. Sometimes he would personally teach her how to draw magic circles. In the evenings, he enjoyed dinner prepared by Nephie. This comfortable life pleased him greatly. One day, a magical beast delivered a letter and invitation from the 12 archdemons. Zagan traveled to their castle, walking deep into the stone fortress to face the 12 archdemons. Their powerful aura and magical energy nearly overwhelmed him, but he resisted. The archdemons appreciated Zagan's demeanor and offered him the position of the 13th archdemon to fill the vacant seat. They explained that this mark was left by the previous archdemon, Marchosius. To inherit the position of archdemon meant inheriting this sigil. Zagan realized the extraordinary nature of the sigil before him, understanding he could do anything with such powerful magic and density. However, he didn't understand why they chose him when there were many stronger candidates. The archdemons explained that while Zagan was still developing his powers, no one could kill him. They recounted how at just 8 years old, he had defeated a titled magician and stolen all his knowledge. They praised Zagan's photographic memory for magic, able to remember any magical composition with just one look. Zagan was shocked that they even knew about his hidden abilities. The archdemons warned that in pursuing this path, he might lose something more precious than his life. Zagan immediately thought of Nephie, realizing she could become a weakness. They described the life of an archdemon as one of endless darkness without even a ray of light penetrating the abyss. Zagan made one request: to obtain the key to unlock Nephie's collar. The archdemons agreed, and Zagan returned home. He found Nephie preparing dinner and without explanation used the key to remove her collar. He then coldly told her that, as an archman, he no longer needed her and ordered her to leave. Nephie found herself abandoned on the street. Questioning her purpose in life, she encountered the previous paladin. She asked them to end her life without resistance, believing she had nothing left to live for now that her master had abandoned her. At that moment, a merchant suddenly stood up and loudly protested that even a paladin shouldn't bully a defenseless girl. The red-haired paladin had actually noticed Nephie's distressed expression and wanted to check on her, leading to the misunderstanding. Nephie quickly explained that the paladin had done nothing wrong. After clearing up the confusion, they went to a restaurant together. When Nephie saw the food, she was stunned. It was exactly like the dinner she had prepared for her master. She broke down crying, still not understanding why Zagan had abandoned her. The merchant asked if anything unusual had happened before she was driven out. Nephie recalled Zagan mentioning becoming a demon king, though she didn't understand what that meant. The merchant explained that archdemons were the highest-ranking magicians. This city had previously been under archdemon Marcosius's rule, during which public safety was good. After his death, kidnapping cases began increasing. The red-haired paladin remembered the bishop claiming Zagan was behind these cases. Nephie asked why the townspeople seemed to dislike the paladins. The merchant explained that the church collected mandatory rescue fees. The red-haired paladin, embarrassed, explained that their mission was to defeat the archdemons. They had 12 sacred swords, but 13 archdemons existed. Their strategy was to eliminate new archdemons before they grew too powerful. Nephie suddenly realized that Zagan had driven her away to protect her from danger. Just as they were celebrating this revelation, the red-haired paladin's men appeared. Mysterious fog enveloped everyone, and the paladin managed to kick the merchant away before escaping with Nephie. The real Zagan, unaware of Nephie's capture, was still believing she could live safely among the townspeople. The merchant rushed to inform him about the kidnapping. Zagan was shocked. He had no contact with Nephie but had still put her in danger. He hesitated, knowing that helping her would reveal their connection. The merchant challenged his indifference, revealing that Nephie had wanted to return to him despite everything. This struck Zagan hard, realizing Nephie still cared for him despite his actions. He resolved that Nephie was his, and anyone who harmed her would face his wrath. "I will help rescue Nephie. Will you join me?" Zagan asked the merchant. "I will. We are friends," the merchant replied without hesitation. Though they were like shadows, they knew exactly where the captives were being held. Zagan had completely understood the situation. This was no ordinary kidnapping. Meanwhile, Nephie awoke to find herself and the red-haired paladin bound in iron chains, with collars sealing their magical abilities. Even with her elven techniques, there were no natural elements nearby she could control. Footsteps approached, and Nephie confronted their captor. "Aren't you master's friend? Why are you doing this?" The purple-haired man revealed that Zagan had killed his master, though he admitted he would have eliminated that old immortal eventually anyway. He was envious of Zagan's castle and the 100,000 spent on Nephie. He had manipulated the church into acting against Zagan. The red-haired paladin realized he was the true culprit behind everything. The purple-haired man explained this was all to demonstrate his magic circle prowess, hoping the 12 archdemons would notice him as the most qualified successor. When Nephie revealed Zagan had already inherited the position, he became enraged. "Now I'll take his position as archdemon," he declared, grabbing Nephie to set his trap. Nephie angrily responded, "Take your filthy hands off me. I belong to my master. Trash like you isn't allowed to touch me." "You are right, Nephie. You are mine." Zagan's voice rang out. Facing this betrayal and the kidnapping of his beloved, he unleashed his magic without hesitation. Zagan immediately freed Nephie from her shackles, apologizing for his actions. If he had known this would happen, he would never have sent her away. Nephie rushed into his arms. The purple-haired man, disgusted by their display, attempted to activate his magic circle. Though Nephie feared the worst, Zagan remained calm, systematically neutralizing each of the attacker's magic circles. The purple-haired man grew increasingly frustrated as his magic proved ineffective. Zagan explained that he had developed a technique to control opposing magic by adding an inner circuit to magic circles. By drawing the same circle as his opponent, he could create a resonance that nullified the attack. The purple-haired man was shocked, wondering if this was the power inherited from his murdered master. Zagan explained that when Andres used magic on him, he secretly memorized the process. He drew the same magic circle on his hand with blood, ready for when Andres tried to kill him the next day. Barbados began doubting his life choices, seeing how Zagan instantly neutralized so many magic attacks. "Is there any magic you haven't seen? Your memory is too good," Zagan replied replied that seizing an opportunity is something even an amateur can do. I've been reading books and studying in that castle since childhood. Barbados was still confused about what Zagan had done to his magic. Zagan mercifully explained that he had converted Barbados's magic into magical needles. Barbados was shocked that Zagan could absorb his magic. Zagan mentioned that after becoming an archdemon, he finally got his title. The punch he delivered left Barbados helpless. It seemed he would need someone to care for him for the rest of his life. Even defensive magic was useless against Zagan. Barbados finally admitted defeat, swearing to disappear and offering all his magic knowledge. Facing death, he tried playing the friendship card, reminding Zagan they used to be good friends, but Zagan was not listening to none of that talk, no jutsu. Zagan replied that if he killed Barbados, he wouldn't be able to torment him for long. Feeling insulted, Barbados angrily declared he would seek revenge with his last breath, but in the next second, the magic arrays around them suddenly flashed brightly. Zagan asked, "Do you want to continue?" Barbados protested it wasn't his doing. Zagan realized his punch had accidentally triggered the magic arrays in the area. The dazzling lights suggested something extraordinary was about to happen. Zagan questioned what Barbados was doing with the magic array. It turned out Barbados was trying to summon an ancient demon god. The demon god was a being extinct since ancient times. It was said that magical artifacts used by sorcerers were words left behind by gods and demons from the demon god era. Now a real demon god had been summoned. Fortunately, it wasn't a complete manifestation due to lacking proper catalysts and care, but even so, facing the powerful pressure of the ancient demon god was more terrifying than facing all the archdemons combined. This was definitely a monster ordinary people couldn't fight, but the monster felt Zagan's aura and decided to dip. With the demon god's disappearance, Zagan finally relaxed, but then the cave began collapsing. He rushed to the entrance with everyone. The knight trio arrogantly declared they wouldn't thank an evil sorcerer for saving their commander. The birdman ran back and whispered to Zagan, reminding him to communicate well with Nephie, then said goodbye and flew away. Zagan looked back at Barbados and asked if he wanted to continue fighting. Barbados was helpless. Seeing the demon god submit to Zagan, what else could he do? He offered Zagan a bottle of good wine as thanks, then used teleportation magic and disappeared. The atmosphere between Zagan and Nephie instantly became awkward. Nephie said she wanted to stay with her master always. Zagan worried if kneeling down was a proposal. Zagan blushed and said awkwardly, "I hope you won't call me master in the future. Just use my name. You're not a slave, not a subordinate, nor a disciple. I think our relationship is something other than that." Nephie took out the previous collar and asked, "Can you put it back on me? Because this is the first bond between you and me. Could this be an oversized wedding ring?" Nephie asked in confusion, "What is our relationship now?" Zagan realized he actually had a treasure.